Good day, my name is David Sullivan. I am 58 years of age and live in Oxted, Surrey. I am married to Sally and have 4 children, Emily, 31, Henry, 28, Freddie, 22, and Brianna, 19. I moved to Oxted 24 years ago from Bromley and Chislehurst. I am a 4th generation of a roofing company, and I've been going to work, earning money, paying for a house I can't afford in Oxted. Life was going okay until 5 years ago when I started to lose my very close young friends to cardiac arrest. In the space of 4 months, I lost 4 young friends, my golf partner and 3 cycling partners, all under the age of 46 years of age. This really affected me because, as you can tell, I am much older than them. Why have I survived? Why have they died? I would think over and over again. Picking up the carnage to see what happened to their wives and their children was tough, but it is my duty to do what I can for my friends. That hurt. Then I get asked by Dame Kelly Holmes, phone me up, Sully, would you take me out and show me how to cycle? Well, you don't get asked by a double Olympic champion very often to go out for a cycle ride. And as you can probably tell with my belly, I'm not really a great cyclist. But Kelly knew I used to train the army in mountaineering and skiing, so I got the call. With my chest puffed out, I couldn't wait for the day to come. Sunday morning, Kelly, I, and about another dozen riders took out to the roads. We got back, and I was very lucky and humbled and proud that I'd taken this brilliant double Olympic champion out cycling. One of the lads, who's much fitter than me and about 7 stone in a wet towel, turned round and said, Sully, have you got all your badges? Badges? What do you mean? All your first aid badges taking out celebrities. To which I puffed my chest out. You know what I used to do, Mark. You know I used to train the army, mountaineering and skiing. You know what I've done. You know I've got my badges and everything else. Yes, he said. But how long ago? 27 years ago. This resonated with me. I thought this wasn't good. So in the October in Westerham, I saw a sign on a pub doing first aid courses. I thought, I'll show him. I will go in. I'll teach him. I'll go and get shown a refresher course. In I went. I got shown a defibrillator. I've never seen one before. This wondrous bit of kit can bring people back from cardiac arrest. What an awesome invention. Didn't think I'd ever need it. In the December, all of my family play golf, and we were destined to come down to my club at Chart Hills, and we were booked in on the 29th of December. 3 days before the event, my Uncle David phoned up and went, look, too far to go down to Biddington. We're going to change. Come to our club. Come to Hever Castle. Fine. That I agreed with. My son was playing for Crystal Palace, and there was a chance of me playing against my son in a game at the club, lads versus dads, and I'd never played football with Fred in a proper environment under floodlights and what have you. So I said to my family, I'm going to play football against Fred and all the youngsters. You know what I'm like. I'm going to give it a go. So I'm probably going to be a bit sore and tired in the morning. So I'll give golf a miss. Played football with Fred. Turned up at Hever Castle. I didn't even take my golf clubs. All my family are there. Drinking, smoking, being merry. It was the time before, after Christmas and before New Year. We were in the bar. My family were trying to get me to play, and I said, no, I don't fancy it. They've gone outside the bar to drink and smoke and what have you, and my Auntie Jan said, your Uncle Jim's brain tumour's come back. Go and have a game of golf. So I saw the pro, got some clubs, and went out. The conditions were very calm. It was very, very cold. It was frosty, and there was a heavy mist. We were allowed to go out to play golf. On the third hole, I got a call. Help, help. It was a blood-curdling call. I will never forget. I went over the hill and looked around. There was a man running around beside himself and a lad laying on the green. He was covered in blood. I thought, oh my God, he's been hit by a ball. It wasn't one of our family members. It was a stranger I've never seen before. I went over. He was covered in blood, but there was no pumping. The blood wasn't coming out. I checked for a pulse. He was going blue. He was on the way to dying. He was in cardiac arrest. The rest is a bit of a blur. All I remember doing is the training, starting CPR and pushing as hard as I could. I'm not going to sing, but it was to staying alive. I pushed and pushed. It seemed like no time at all a defibrillator arrived. They couldn't get an air ambulance and there was no other emergency services there. We got the defib on the patient, 1 shock, nothing. 2 shocks, we got life. There was a crowd of people there, and by now the ambulance, the police, motorbikes, you name it, was turning up. And we decided to leave it to the professionals. My family said, what do you want to do? I said, well, I don't really know. What's happened has been a bit of a blur, so can I just walk? So we carried on playing golf. The mist started to clear. The ambulance and motorbikes and things were still there. And I didn't know whether that was a good sign or a bad sign. Still, I carried on playing. I remember it turning into a very beautiful sunny day. I got back to the clubhouse and they had no news whether the patient was survived or had passed away. Personally, I thought they were absolutely passed away. The club were very nice to me, cups of tea and things done. I went home. I didn't sleep that evening. I was tossing and turning, wondering what had happened. The next day, I was roofing, facing the cinema in Oxted. My phone rang. Yes? Is that David Sullivan? Yes, it is. It's his mum. I burst into tears. All I could do was apologise and say, I'm so sorry. I tried as hard as I can. I've done everything I could. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. To which she said, stop saying sorry. He's sitting up in bed reading a newspaper. For someone like me to have saved somebody's life, I found really odd that I hadn't really been trained for a long time and things were done, but I was there to keep a family together. And the coincidence of recently being shown how to use a defib and doing stuff, it was wonderful news. 2 weeks later, the golf club phoned me back to say that he was doing very well. And before the young lady put the phone down, she said it was a shame none of the other 30-odd people helped you do CPR. This really hurt me. I was in such a focus and a vision. I hadn't really taken notice of other people being around. I knew my family were there, but I didn't really look. It concerned me. I was, at the time, going about with a director of Philips, who I used to cycle with. And I explained this to him, and he said, come over to Vienna. We're having a conference. Come and join us. Perfect, I will. David, the roofer, went to Vienna. I was absolutely treated like royalty. I was taken around, shown all of the town, but most of all, they had over 40 of the world's best cardiac survival specialists. And when I say from all around the world, I mean from all around the world. And instead of laughing at me, they took me in. They wanted to hear the story, they wanted to know what happened, and they were nothing but helpful. The lessons I learned being with these people, I was taken into the operations room in Vienna, where all the emergency calls come in. And I would listen to youngsters being able to say, I'm doing CPR on my parents. I know how to stop the bleeding. I know how to put them in a recovery position. I know how to care for these people. It was absolutely amazing to know that these children and all of the people there had the knowledge of how to save a life. So I wanted to find out more. So I've traveled the world. I've been to Stavanger, Seattle, Las Vegas, Vienna, Oslo. I've been to so many different places, and still these people want me to learn more. Education. So why do you think no one came to help me? I'm going to give you a second. Number one, education. People aren't educated over here in first aid and CPR. Number two, we're scared of doing things wrong, making the situation worse. Three, we're scared of catching diseases. We don't want to get involved. Four, we're scared of getting sued. Or we don't want to do something worse. I could be in trouble, could get done for touching all of these things come into play. Now, the cities I just mentioned and the countries in areas have cardiac survival rates pushing way over 40%. And what do you think we are in the UK? 7%. So I ask you, do you know how to save one of your loved one's life or a stranger down the road? Do you have the courage? Do you know how to do CPR and use a defibrillator? No. Okay, well, here comes some good news. At Creating Lifesavers, we want to change this. I don't want to be the same as Europe. I don't want to follow Europe. I want to be in front of Europe. I want to make the UK the safest place in the world to survive a cardiac arrest. So what Creating Lifesavers have started to do is a pilot scheme. In Oxted, where I live, we are now going to put 5 defibrillators in the 2 high streets we have, so that you are never more than 200 metres away from a life-saving piece of kit. That's great, but it doesn't do the whole story. So what I've been doing, which is why I've put on weight, is in the evening, I've been holding sessions showing all the local shopkeepers, all the people who work in the offices, everyone in the area, to give them the experience of what to expect if someone goes into cardiac arrest, what to do, and how to use a defibrillator. This pilot scheme is really taking off. Once COVID is out the way, I've got 4,000 school children to show that in Oxted and Tandridge, we will have an army of lifesavers so that we can jump in at the case and save somebody's life. In Oxted, there are about 16,000 residents. So we are expecting probably around 20 cardiac arrests a year. It isn't just going to be the old fat guy. It isn't going to be the person who smokes all the time. As you've recently seen, cardiac arrest can strike anybody, even supreme athletes. We are in contact with Fabrice Muwumba. We are trying Christian Eriksen to get on board with this cause. So Oxted, I'm proud to say, is going to be a very, very safe place to survive a cardiac arrest. I'm very humbled and lucky that I have to go to lecture to cardiologists to explain my ethos and what I want to do to save lives. So with 16,000 people, 20 people having cardiac arrests, 70% of cardiac arrests are going to happen between 10 o'clock and 8 o'clock in the morning. So the best person to teach CPR to is the people you live with, because you're more than likely to have a cardiac arrest at home. So that is what we're doing. We are producing an army of lifesavers so that I can save lives of my friends and the people where I live. And once we have succeeded in Oxted and Tandridge, we are going to push this out nationally so that we've got trainers all over the country. I am not going to stop. I've got 4 very dead friends, really dead. And if I can stop other people dying, I owe it to them with all the knowledge I've been given to save lives. Thank you very much for listening.